Everyone's Jackal Wolf back with another 5 things video. This time we're in Lords and Villeins. I think I got that pronounced right. I'm not 100% sure, but this is a early access game on Steam. It's kind of a combination between, say, a RimWorld and The Guild. So it's a family dynasty building game with a medieval setting. Now, I've been playing this for a bit, and I've identified 5 tips and tricks that I think everybody needs to know whenever they're starting out a new world in this game. These are things that are not included or glossed over in the tutorial, but they're super simple and they'll really make the difference when you start playing this game. But before I get started, now is a good time to hit that subscribe button, click on that notification bell. That way you're alerted every time I put out a new video just like this one. So here we are in a brand new world. We start only with our warehouse, our peasants, and our noble family. So for tip number 1, when you start a new world, there is one thing that you absolutely have to do first before you do anything else in the game, and that is to set up a storefront in your warehouse. Now, the storefront can be accessed through the Zones menu by clicking on the warehouse and selecting the storefront from the drop-down menu. This can then be placed anywhere in the world where it's going to leave a blueprint. Now, the reason we need to build this first is that without access to a storefront, your peasants are not going to have access to the resources they're going to need to build their manors, their businesses, and basically get the game going for themselves. That means they're going to be standing around doing a lot of nothing, wasting a whole bunch of time. Now that we've got this built, we can go start planning out our village, start planning out our manors, our houses, and our businesses. Now, once you've placed your initial zones and assigned them to the correct households, it's time to talk about diversification. Specifically, don't do it. Now, this applies specifically to the farmland and the royal forest. In both of these cases, there are multiple different methods of producing resources. For the farmland, you can grow crops using farming soil. You can plant apple and pear trees to create an orchard, or you can set up animal pens and ranch chickens, cows, and sheep. When you start a new world, you really want to focus on one of these. In this case, I've picked the farming the crops because it's probably the easiest and it'll probably provide the best resources going forward. Now, the options in the royal forest are a little bit more limited than the farmland. You've really only got the choices between harvesting wood and raising pigs. The reason that you don't want to diversify this early on in the game is that each of these tasks requires a person to do them. For every person that is doing one task, they're not doing another task. That means if your farmers are trying to plant crops, harvest crops, process grains, churn butter, raise animals, tend to the orchards, they're just not going to get everything done, and tasks are just going to be left undone. Same thing in the royal forest. They are going to be your main source of wood in the game. If they're not producing wood, that means you're going to have less resources for building other buildings and structures in your world. That's going to be more time without roofs over their heads, or houses to call their own, or chairs, or cooking utensils. Everything in this world is going to require time and other materials, so you don't want to be wasting them. Now, speaking about wood and wood products brings us up to our tip number 3, which is be conservative with your building materials. While wooden walls might be a good option for your noble house, it may be too much of an extravagance for your peasant homes, especially when you start out with an absolute ton of straw. As a comparison, a hay wall takes 3 straw, whereas a wooden wall takes 1 wood and 1 plank. If we check our starting resources, you can see that wood and planks are very, very limited, whereas straw, we actually start with an absolute ton of. There's more than enough straw here to do 3 peasant houses, whereas we're going to need the wood and the planks to build more than just structures. Now, this is not a hard rule, but at least for your 3 starter homes, it might be a good rule of thumb. Now, if we're going to be building with straw, we're going to need a way to replace that resource. Our best method of doing that is by building some flailing spots. Now, these are a place where our farmers can take barley, oats, rye, and wheat and convert them into grains. As a byproduct, we get some straw. So you see barley gets us 1 straw, oat gets us 2 straws, rye gets us 1 straw, and wheat gets us 1 straw as well. If we jump into our planting schedule, you can see everything starts out at 0. It could be very, very tempting just to prioritize everything as a 1. But at least early on in the game, I recommend at least bumping these up to a 2. That's going to give it a little bit of an edge on the priority scale, which means a little bit more grain growing in the ground, and as a byproduct, a little bit more straw in our inventory. Now, the last tip I've got for this video comes a little bit later on in the game. Once you build yourself an inn, you're going to start getting visitors to your town. If you accept them into your town, they're going to need a place to stay. While you can just assign them an empty household zone, it may actually make sense to have your nobles pre-build a house in anticipation of new villagers. What that means is that if your nobles do not have any building tasks in their home, they're going to focus on infrastructure, like the public area, like the marketplace, or the caravan marketplace. Basically, any blueprint that's placed in your world that's not in a claimed zone will be built by your noble family. That's going to give any new family to your village a little bit of a head start when they start setting up. Once you're ready to transfer ownership, all you need to do is to select the household and then build it in the area that you want to convert over. Now you can take this structure and basically assign it to any of the families in your village. So there you go. Those are my 5 starting tips for Lords and Villeins. Hopefully you found them interesting. Hopefully you found them useful. If you've got any tips and tricks of your own, share them in the comments below. I would love to hear them. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please think about leaving a like and a subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter @JackalWolf. Also, check out the description below. There's a link to my Discord page. I would love it if you guys stop by to say hi. As well, there's a link to my Patreon page. If you enjoy this channel, if you enjoy this content, you want to support, stop by, check it out. There are a lot of great perks out there for all of my supporters. But that is it. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.